A Navy SEAL mission goes horribly wrong. Friendly fire, chaos, death, and the commander's first words? It was my fault. I take full responsibility. Wait, WHAT. That response changed everything. Not just for that mission, but for how we understand leadership forever. Stay with me, what happens next will blow your mind and change how you think about responsibility. Story setup: this isn't just another business book. This is written by two Navy SEALs, Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, who led the most decorated Special Operations Unit in the Iraq War. They took the leadership principles that kept them alive in the deadliest combat zones and applied them to business. And here's the crazy part: they worked. Fortune 500 companies, small businesses, sports teams, everyone who applied these principles saw massive improvements. But before we get to the business lessons, you need to hear the story that started it all. It's December 2006, Ramadi, Iraq, the most dangerous city on earth, and Jocko's about to face the worst moment of his career. The story that changes everything. The mission seems straightforward, clear, and insurgent stronghold. But in combat, nothing is simple. Multiple SEAL teams, Iraqi soldiers, Marine units, all operating in the same area, at night, in a city full of enemies. Then it happened. Boom. Gunfire. Screams. American forces were shooting at American forces. One Iraqi soldier dead. Several SEALs wounded. Friendly fire, the worst nightmare in combat. Jocko's radio exploded with chaos. His commander is screaming for answers. The entire operation is falling apart. And here's where most leaders make the fatal mistake. They start pointing fingers. It was the Marines' fault. The Iraqi soldiers didn't follow protocol. The intel was wrong. My subordinates screwed up. Jocko could have blamed anyone. He had legitimate excuses, but he didn't. When his commander demanded to know what happened, Jocko said 3 words that changed his life. I messed up. Not his team. Not the fog of war. Not bad luck. Him. He took extreme ownership. And you know what happened? Instead of being fired, he was trusted more. His team rallied around him. The mission was salvaged. Why? Because when leaders take responsibility, everything changes. The principle revealed. This is the core principle of the book: extreme ownership. Here's what it means. As a leader, everything that happens on your team is your responsibility. Your employee shows up late. Your fault you didn't set clear expectations. Your project failed. Your fault you didn't plan properly. Your team isn't performing. Your fault you didn't train them right. I know what you're thinking. That's not fair. Sometimes it really isn't my fault. And you're right, it's not fair. But here's the truth bomb Jocko drops. Life isn't fair. But leaders who take ownership win. When you blame others, you give away your power. When you take ownership, you take back control. And this isn't just military theory. Let me show you how this works in real life. Real world example. 1. One company Jocko worked with was struggling. Sales were tanking. The CEO called a meeting and went off. Marketing isn't bringing quality leads. Sales isn't closing deals. HR hired the wrong people. The economy is bad. Jocko stopped him. Let me ask you something. Who hired the marketing director? I did. Who approved the sales strategy? I did. Who sets the company culture? I do. Silence. So, whose fault is it really? The CEO finally got it. He was the problem. Not because he was bad at his job, but because he wasn't taking ownership. Within 6 months of implementing extreme ownership, the company turned around completely. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Extreme ownership doesn't just apply to the person at the top. It applies to everyone. The dichotomy. Now, here's where your brain might break. If everyone takes extreme ownership, won't people just blame themselves for everything? No. And here's why. There's a balance. Jocko calls it the dichotomy of leadership. You must be aggressive, but not reckless, disciplined, but not rigid, confident, but not cocky leader, but also a follower. Let me explain with another crazy story from Ramadi. Jocko had a subordinate, let's call him Chris, who was too aggressive, taking unnecessary risks, breaking protocol. Most commanders would either I'll let him do whatever to lenient be crush his initiative too strict. Jocko did neither. He pulled Chris aside. I love your aggression. It's why you're on this team. But you're being reckless, not aggressive. And reckless gets people killed. So here's what we're going to do. He channeled that aggression into smart aggression. Chris became one of the best operators on the team. That's the dichotomy, balancing opposing forces. And this applies to your life right now. Direct application. Think about your life right now. Maybe you're a manager with a struggling team, an entrepreneur with a failing business, a student with bad grades, a parent with difficult kids, an employee who feels stuck. Here's your extreme ownership challenge. Stop for 1 second and ask, what part of this is my responsibility? Not to beat yourself up, not to feel guilty, but to find the one thing you can control. Because here's the secret, when you take ownership, you take power. Your boss is terrible? Okay, but how can you communicate better with them? Your employees are lazy? How can you inspire them differently? Your kids won't listen? How can you change your approach? See what's happening? You're taking control back. And here's the next principle that makes this even more powerful. The laws of combat 7:39. Build momentum rapid fire principles. Jocko breaks down 4 laws of combat that work in Iraq and in your office. Law 1. Cover and movie in combat. Teams support each other. No lone wolves. In business, departments must work together. Sales helps marketing. Marketing helps sales. No silos. Real talk. If you're fighting with another department, you're hurting your own mission. Law 2. Simply in combat, complex plans fall apart. Keep it simple. In business, if your team doesn't understand the plan, it's your fault for making it complicated. Jocko says, if your 5-year-old can't understand it, it's too complex. Law 3. Prioritize and execute in combat. When chaos hits, don't panic. Handle the most important thing first. In business, you can't do everything at once. What's the one thing that matters most right now? Here's a powerful story about this. Quick story, 30 seconds max. A company was drowning in problems. Jocko asked the CEO, what's the biggest problem? Everything. Wrong answer. What's the one problem that, if solved, makes everything else easier? That shift from scattered panic to focused action saved the company. Law 4. Decentralized command in combat. Leaders can't control everything. Train your team and trust them. In business, stop micromanaging. Give your team ownership. And here's the crazy part, when you give people ownership, they step up. The counterintuitive truth. Now here's what blows most people's minds. Extreme ownership means sometimes taking the blame for things that really aren't your fault. Jocko had a junior SEAL who made a mistake that could have gotten people killed. In the debrief, Jocko took responsibility. After the meeting, the junior SEAL was confused. Sir, that was my mistake. Why did you take the blame? Jocko said, because I'm responsible for training you. If you weren't ready, that's on me. And you know what that SEAL did? He worked twice as hard. He never made that mistake again. And he became fiercely loyal to Jocko. That's the power of ownership. It inspires loyalty and excellence. But and here's where the dichotomy comes in. You also need to hold people accountable. If someone keeps making the same mistake, that's different. You address it directly. Balance. Always balance. Now, let me show you the biggest mistake people make with this. Common mistakes. People hear extreme ownership and mess it up in 3 ways. Mistake 1. Taking blame for everything publicly. No. Taking ownership doesn't mean being a doormat. Internally, with your boss, take ownership. With your team, protect them publicly. Address issues privately. With yourself, be honest about what you need to improve. Mistake 2. Not holding others accountable. Taking ownership doesn't mean letting people off the hook. You own the result. They own their actions. If someone isn't performing, that's a conversation you need to have. Mistake 3. Using IT as a weapon. Some leaders weaponize this. You should take ownership of your failure. No, that's blame dressed up as leadership. You take ownership of your leadership. They take ownership of their actions. The difference? One builds culture, the other destroys it. Okay, now here's where this gets really practical. The checklist, here's your extreme ownership implementation plan. Step 1. The morning question. Every morning ask, what will I take ownership of today? Not what you hope happens, what you will make happen. Step 2. The failure debrief. When something goes wrong, immediately ask, what did I do to contribute to this? What could I have done differently? What will I do next time? Notice, 3 questions, all focused on you. Step 3. The team conversation. If you're a leader, gather your team today and say, I'm taking ownership of our results. Here's what I'm going to do differently. What do you need from me? Watch what happens. People respond to this. Step 4. The daily reflection board. Bed. Answer. What did I take ownership of today? Where did I make excuses? What's one thing I'll own tomorrow? This isn't about perfection. It's about direction. And speaking of direction, let me tell you the story that brought all this together. The final story. Remember that friendly fire incident from the beginning? After Jocko took ownership, his commander had a choice. Fire him or trust him. He chose trust. But here's what you didn't know. Years later, after Jocko left the military, he met with families of fallen SEALs. One mother asked, who was responsible for my son's death? Jocko could have explained the complexity, the fog of war, the impossible decisions. Instead, he said, I was the commander. It was my responsibility. She didn't yell. She didn't blame. She actually thanked him. Why? Because taking ownership gave her peace. No ambiguity, no wondering, just honest accountability. That's the power of this principle. It's not just about success. It's about integrity. It's not just about winning. It's about who you become. And here's what Jocko discovered. The more ownership you take, the more power you have. The more responsibility you accept, the more freedom you gain. The more you lead yourself, the more others will follow you. This isn't just a leadership principle. It's a life principle. The challenge. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, take extreme ownership of not everything. Just one thing. Maybe it's your morning routine, a struggling project at work, a difficult relationship, your physical healthy, our financial situation. For 7 days, ask every morning, what can I own today? And every night, what did I blame others for that I should have owned? 7 days. That's it. And watch what happens. Because here's the truth Jocko learned in combat and business. The only person you can control is you. The only thing you can change is your response. The only way forward is ownership. Everything else is an excuse. And winners don't make excuses. They make progress. Final hook. One more thing before you go. Jocko wakes up every day at 4:30 a.m. Every single day. People ask him, doesn't that suck? He says, I don't make decisions based on what's easy. I make them based on what's right. That's extreme ownership. Not when it's convenient. Not when it feels good. Always. If this hit you as hard as it hit me, do 2 things. Hit that like button seriously. Do it. No, drop a comment with one thing you're taking ownership of this week. You'll respond to every single one. And if you're ready to transform how you think about responsibility and leadership, subscribe, because we're breaking down the books that actually work. The question isn't whether you can take ownership. The question is, will you? Let's find out. I'll see you in the next one.